Hello and welcome to another College Basketball Weekly powered by the Full Court Network. LT in the saddle with my guy, Sammy D. We are 1 week away from March Madness, the NCAA tournament. We had a great show last week with Tom Wichita, the Big Sky commissioner, and on the NCAA selection committee. We got another great episode. Don't forget to subscribe, rate, and review, especially on the Full Court Network. We want to be your home for college basketball. We're going to have some great content. We'll be back next week. Mountain West. I'm excited about that in Las Vegas with you. I'm also going to go to the WAC tournament, and we're going to have some fun. We're going to have a live show Sunday night. Save the date, 8:30. We already got one coach confirmed. We're actually going to talk about their team a little bit, and we're going to have a lot of coaches. We're going to have a lot of fun. It's going to be no other selection, preview show or overview show like you've heard before. But Sam, we got another great episode. We got two great guests, and but I will say we've got 7 bids. We got 7 teams dancing. One of these teams and conferences we have the commissioner from, who's also the vice chair of the NCAA tournament committee. Sunbelt, Troy. They beat Arkansas State.
I know, out of nowhere. How about that?
Boom.
It's crazy. I love it.
SoCon, Wooford. ASUN, we got our guy Lenny Acuff, who will be on the Full Court Press of college basketball.
Congrats, Coach Acuff. I love Lenny. We had him on the preview show this year.
I know. We got the OVC, Snoop Double G. We got SIU Edgeworthsville.
Love it.
That was awesome.
First time a lot of first timers in the dance here.
Yeah, Coach Barone, and then you got Missouri Valley, got Drake. You know what they're doing is phenomenal. But then we got to go to Omaha Summit. Our guy Chris Crutchfield says every time he's on the show, his social media blows up. We got to get him on the preview for the tournament bracket show. So shout out to Omaha, and they beat St. Thomas, so they won it fair and square. And then Big South, baby. This is one of the teams that I think are going to do some damage in the NCAA tournament, a.k.a. simply known as March Madness. High Point.
How about High Point coming to terms, extending the contract, huh?
I love it.
How big of a play is that for High Point the next couple of years?
Oh, it is huge. I mean, they are showing that they care. I mean, Coach Haas is the man. He's going to be joining us on our live show. He's our first one to confirm. So we're excited about that. We're going to talk about sweet, smooth, sultry barbecue sauce from Kansas City. We're going to talk about Bodo. We're going to talk about how, Bobby Pettiford, their team, I think they're one of the 3 teams, and we're going to talk about this on the live show, that could make some noise. We're on the Husk Bus. You on the Husk Bus? Because I'm on the Husk Bus.
Rumor has it you and I have an official pass on the Husk Bus.
We do.
Yes.
We do. And it's funny because people have been talking about Omaha all of a sudden. Dude, we've been talking all year.
Yep.
You know what else? I got a shout out for my guy Patrick Madden on Instagram.
The Demons, baby.
Look at that. Taylor Stable and let's go Demons. 4 wins. What did you predict? How many wins?
I predicted 4 wins in conference this year.
Yep. 2 in a row. 2 in a row.
Yeah.
I love it. Let's go Demons.
Going into the Big East tournament nice and strong.
How many next year, boss?
8 or 9. I'm gonna go 8 right now. I want to see how Holtman does in the portal. But DePaul's going to be a team that just keeps getting better and better every single year under this Holtman era. It's going to be a lot of fun to watch.
I love it. So we got a great episode. We got first guest is Keith Gill. No relation to Johnny Gill or Kendall Gill. Oh, I love Johnny Gill. Were you a big fan of New Edition? I love New Edition.
It was a little before my time, but I'm familiar. Keith Gill.
Just wait, time out. Don't cut me off. We're talking about New Edition. let me tell you something. I went to a New Edition concert once.
Did they make it up to Canada?
Did they? Yeah, they came up to Toronto. Me and my guy Mikey who helps us. You know Mikey Wilson. Shout out to Big Boy. We're gonna be in Cleveland getting some good content. Yeah, there's like 5 or 6 of them. There's only like 3. Pretty bad.
They couldn't cross the border. But coming up, we have guest Keith Gill, who's on the selection committee. You know, we talk a little bit about what happens on the selection committee. He takes us behind the curtain. What I love about Keith is just how balanced his background is. You know, I mean, he's worked for big conferences. He's worked for mid-majors. He's been spent a little time, at American University of Oklahoma. He's a Duke graduate.
Which is funny.
It is funny, and next year he's going to be because next year he's going to be the chair of the committee, and this year's chair, who he has to have some conversations with over the next. So he's had them all year, but really tough conversations. The next couple of weeks is the UNC athletic director. Yep. So who's the chair this year? So really interesting dynamic, but so much respect. We heard it on last week's show and this year or this week, with Keith. It's, he talks very highly of the selection committee and what they do and, just how fair it can be, when everyone's doing the job the right way. Yeah. So, it's a really good interview.
Yeah. And then after him, we go to our guy. So I love college basketball. I love everything. Yes. I love the managers. I love the SIDs. I love the cheerleaders. The cheerleaders love LT. I love the bands. I love the band directors. I love the coaches, the players, the assistant coaches, the student advisors. Kim Smith, what up? You remember Kim Smith? That's our girl.
I love Kim.
But you know what they've never talked about is the student managers. We've got the hottest student manager, simply known as what?
Amir Aura Khan. I think he just goes by the name Aura now because, that is just like that. Can you imagine being a senior in college and the guys on the basketball team were like, "Hey, LT, your new nickname's Aura."
I don't know what you're talking about. I'm 48 with kids. They call me Aura right now.
Yeah, I bet. No, but Amir Khan made some viral news the last couple weeks. When he rapped "In and Out" by Lufo, just word for word, in the tunnel with McNeese. And he's got his own NIL deals now. He talks about his relationship with Coach Will Wade. What it's like to be a student manager. It was a really fun interview just to have someone like him on. So different, you think about it. Here's what I love about our show, and I love about you because you're in charge of getting these guests. So in the past 10 days, we've had players, coaches, conference commissioners, and student managers. No one else in the world is doing what we're doing, LT.
You know what I love about Amir Khan? Great kid. Great kid. He is going to do big things, whatever he does. But the funny thing is, and why I'm wearing this, is he's a DePaul fan.
Well, his dad's a DePaul fan.
No. He is a DePaul fan.
Yeah, well, you might turn him into one. But we asked him about his background in college basketball, and he was like, "Oh, funny story. Just no ties to Chicago. My dad's just a big DePaul fan." And you and I are just like jaw dropping like that. That's out of nowhere. Yeah. We didn't know that and stuff like that. So let's get into it. We're going to start with Keith Gill, Commissioner of the Sun Belt Conference, Troy State Trojans representing, and then also the Vice Chair of the NCAA Tournament Committee. Then we're going to go over to Amir Khan of McNeese State. The Cowboys. By his name, Amir Aura Khan.
Yes.
Goes by nothing else,
enjoy, and don't forget to subscribe, rate, and review. Sam, it's almost that time of year. College Basketball Weekly, powered by the Full Court Network, and it's bracketology-ists, or whatever you call them, cosmetologists, bracketologists are having their field day. This gentleman who we have coming up next is probably never watched this much college basketball in the last couple of years than he ever has, which is funny because he's a football guy. I want to ask a certain question, but we got Sun Belt Commissioner, one of our favorite conferences. We've had a lot of teams on the conference, really good brand of sports. We got Keith Gill on the joining us. He's also the vice chair of the NCAA Tournament Selection Committee. All I want to know, and this is our whole conversation, and Cam's getting worried because I ask weird questions sometimes. How does it make you feel as a Duke graduate, potentially being a number one seed, and the person who's the chair being the UNC athletic director, knowing that there might be a bubble discussion for that team? Let's be honest.
You know what? The one thing I'll tell you is, I don't know if you guys saw our top 16 reveal, but but Bubba Cunningham, our chair and the AD at the University of North Carolina, when he got to Duke, he told the host he couldn't read it and passed the card to the host to say, "I need you to read that." So that'll give you some kind of indication of the banter that, obviously Duke, me being a Duke grad and him working at North Carolina, have with each other. But we try to keep it kind of on the straight and narrow and try to be neutral and really just try not to pick winners and losers. We just let kind of the games that we watch and the data that we review kind of lead our decisions.
Yeah.
Yeah, so you've been on the selection committee since the 2021-2022 season, but there's been so many different changes in college basketball. It feels like there's a new metric system coming out every year, and everybody's an expert, right? And how is the kind of intake and education of the metric system and all the data, how is that kind of playing into the conversations you and the committee are having?
Yeah, plays a lot. Now, the one thing I'll correct you on is everybody being an expert is not a change. It's been that way for the last
there you
conversation, right? But no, it really is a process, in terms of trying to educate people, because we want to have a transparent process. We want to make sure people understand what we're trying to do. That's one of the reasons why we try to give rationale for our decisions. Sometimes people agree with it, sometimes they don't. But we're at least trying to give you at least an insight into some of our best thinking. One of our newer metrics we have now is wins above bubble, which I think is a really helpful measure in terms of trying to compare unlike schedules. If you have a team that has played, only had a handful of games in the first quadrant versus a team that's had 12 to 20 opportunities in the first quadrant, how do you compare those schedules? That's a challenge,
Mm-hmm.
And so trying to get some metrics that bring some that give us an ability to try to be more consistent as we compare teams that are playing such different schedules is really important. So I do think that we're trying to do a good job of making sure people understand at least how we're thinking about it and how we're going about our work. And obviously, and it seems like people are getting it. They don't always agree to the earlier point, but they certainly, I think, understand.
I got young kids, so I know how that works, at least in my life. Do you think there's almost too many metrics now? I mean, I know you're trying to get the most concise because it's such a difficult process. I mean, let's be honest. It's not like you just say, all right, you know what? I saw one gameplay. I mean, we had Tom Wichita, who's one of your colleagues, both as a fellow commissioner and on the committee. But do you think there's almost like you're almost going too far with too much of the analytics and the metric systems?
I don't really think so, because I think it's all a choice. And I also think that for all of us on the committee, like, the great thing about the committee is there's 12 of us. And so in some ways we cancel out each other's biases and really help to bring some consistency, because something that I may value may be a little different than Tom Wistersill values.
Right.
And it's reflected in the vote. And I think it allows people to get a fair shake. So I would actually say, bring all the metrics you can, because we use them differently. Some of us, you like the results oriented metrics a little more than maybe the predictive metrics. Some people like predictive. We spend a lot of times in the quads, but one of the things people don't really appreciate for us is, we have like a cut line in the quad system. So we really are trying to, it's not just a quad one win for us. We're really looking to see, hey, is that above the line? All quad one wins aren't made the same. All quad two wins aren't made the same. There's a level of detail where we're trying to drill down into that. So I think what we're trying to do is identify all the different pieces of data that we can provide that's going to help a committee member get the picture, so they can marry that with what they see on TV and really bring a full picture to say, okay, this team is great defensively. They're going to lock you up. Inconsistent scoring. Let's look at their wins. Let's see what those scoring margins are. How does that equal a tournament team? And so the more tools that we can have to provide the different kinds of thought processes for each committee member, I think the better.
Yeah, I got a great idea, Sam, before you ask a question. You should just let everybody into the NCAA tournament like they do in high school sports now. And that way, just, you know what? It might take 2 years to figure it out, but at least you know who the true winner is.
Yeah, exactly. How would you see that? Whoa.
Yeah. That's coming from somebody who's against tournament expansion, which is Luke. So now you want everything.
Okay.
Now you want
you're putting words in my mouth, Sam.
I've heard you say it plenty of
my
times.
biggest I love the upsets, okay?
Yeah.
And I worry and I understand, like Tom was talking about the units, right? So like for in your position at the Sun Belt, if you expand your unit for each conference in the mid-major or the high mid-majors is going to be devalued. So I understand that part of it. Like we've heard 96, we've heard 128. I mean, I love it. I think it's, and no offense, I know you're a college football guy, obviously a college basketball guy too, or college sports person in general. It is the greatest tournament around. I mean, it just is. I mean,
yeah, I would agree.
You
it's
know,
the best
it is
postseason in sports.
It is, and I've seen it from all different angles. I've seen it how it can make or break people's careers, lives. You know, everybody talks about the upsets, the Northern Iowas, the Oakland last years. So would I like to see 4 more? Like, would I love to see Sunbelt get 2 teams every year in? Absolutely. I don't know how that can happen if you don't expand it, but I don't know if it would happen if you did expand it. So I don't know.
Right. Yeah. Some of the data that we looked at, it kind of looks like 80% of new expansion probably goes to, SEC, Big 10, Big 12, ACC, and Big East. And then 20% is distributed amongst the other conferences. Just when you look back at historical data, and it's not completely fair because you're just looking at like first 4 teams and trying to figure out where they go and next 4 out. But roughly that's what, and that seems like probably tracks with what you see now when you think about the distribution of at-large bids. So
yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, what I love about your background, Keith, is just how balanced it is from both kind of a mid-major aspect, but then you've also worked for some of those kind of power conferences that you just mentioned, and then you also spent a few years in the NCAA office. Like, can you talk a little bit about that balance and how you kind of bring that into both being a conference commissioner that, you have to represent the Sun Belt, obviously, when you're not doing your selection committee duties, but then also as a selection committee member, you've kind of seen it from every different angle there is almost.
Yeah, I think it really is context, right? It gives me some context. So I was the AD at American, the very first time that university had a chance to participate in the NCAA tournament, did it back-to-back years. So I have that. I was at Richmond, in the A-10, oversaw basketball at Oklahoma, worked at Vanderbilt. I mean, so I think it just gives me context, and it allows me to kind of have a perspective that might be an SEC perspective at the same time of having a Patriot League perspective. So I like the word that you use, balance, because I think that's important to what we do. We really are trying to evaluate teams regardless of the conference they're in. It really is the team's record, and it does help ground me in a sense of, hey, how do you put context to what Indiana State did last year or what Drake's doing this year versus what some of the teams in the SEC are doing, and so I do think it helps ground me and give me some balance to kind of bring a almost agnostic evaluation to those things to try to see if I can come to some judgment about what I would rank a little bit ahead of the other.
Right. So you obviously are in the inner workings of the selection committee and then the NCAA. What are you taking from your experience and your knowledge now for being part of the selection committee last couple of years to putting kind of Sun Belt continuing in the right direction under your leadership and your team's leadership?
Yeah, that's a great question. I do think one of the benefits from this is really trying to understand, okay, how do you schedule? And one of the big takeaways that I have is, hey, one of the things you got to try to do is schedule the toughest schedule you can have, where you can win 70 to 75% of your games. And so that's one of the things that I preach to our basketball teams, which is, hey, and just know if we get out of the gate and a team wins like 60% of their games, that's going to make it a challenge if they're going to try to put themselves in position for at large. And so when you can kind of look at the data and the trends in terms of what you need to do. I think being in the selection room, hearing the conversation, hearing what's important to folks, kind of help us do that in terms of how to schedule. I think one of the things when we look at our tournament, the Sun Belt tournament, one of the reasons we changed the bracket was because it really put our top seeds at a disadvantage because they were playing lesser seeded teams that had played a game and had a day of rest.
Mm-hmm.
And so we wanted to eliminate that advantage. Now, it creates some problems over here, but we were trying to solve something. And so that's why we made that change. Now, part of that is kind of seeing what happens in the NCAA tournament. You know, one of our top 2 seeds, James Madison, won last year. They end up with a 12 seed. They beat Wisconsin, and you progress. And so it really is about trying to learn kind of what you see versus before. I want to say, I don't remember how many years ago, maybe 3 or 4 years ago, App went on a great run, won on tournament, maybe it's like a 7 seed or an 8 seed, but a lower seeded team, and ended up in the playing game, you know, and so, you know, for us, we want to put ourselves in a position to be in a 12 seed more often than a 16 seed. And I think some of the things that I learned in the room, you know, I can bring that back to the Sun Belt, and that can happen a little more frequently.
Yeah. What I like what you guys did, you and John did with the MAC, was the whole Sun Belt MAC challenge. Because what we're hearing a lot of from a lot of coaches, we've had a lot of coaches, a lot of your coaches and MAC coaches, like non-conference scheduling. It's literally impossible because one coach in particular, his brother is friends with a Power 5 coach. I said, well, why don't you play him? It's like, he has no benefit in playing us.
Right.
So, like, I guess bar from this Sun Belt MAC challenge, like, what are you hearing for the future of, because I feel like it's this whole quad 1, quad 4 wins, you know, neutral site. How does that fit into the whole Sun Belt mantra?
Yeah, you know, I think it's going to get hard. I mean, I really think the challenge right now is, like, when you think about the MTE kind of setup historically, it's really allowed for schools in the Sun Belt or in the MAC to get a chance to play autonomy schools on a neutral court.
Mm-hmm.
And that really is going away. Part of that is analytics and the way the autonomy builds their schedules now. And so I think it really is going to get challenging, because I think a lot of those games for us that are going to be in that quad 1, the non-conference quad 1 games, we're going to have to play on the road. And we already know in Division 1 that the home team wins 75% of the time. So you're already putting yourselves at a disadvantage. So I think you raise a good point. We're going to try to do more challenges. Like one of the reasons we do 2 games in the MAC challenge with the Sun Belt is because we need home games.
Yeah.
And both conferences do. And so the only way to do that is to do 2, right?
Yeah.
And then it's also really good because we have good on good. And so your teams, you know, JMU last year benefited by winning their game against, I think they
Kent State in overtime.
Yeah, against Kent.
Yeah, that was awesome.
And so those
double overtime
really help. And the JMU women this year beat Ball State, right? And that's going to help them in selection. So I really do think, though, more of those challenges might be kind of things that we try to explore, just because I think, you know, we're not going to get autonomy schools to come to our campuses, right?
Yeah.
Play on the road, and those neutral site opportunities are drying up as well. And so at some point, you know, we need home games too. And so maybe these challenges are a way to kind of do that. But we love the MAC challenge.
Yeah. 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 You love the MAC challenge because you guys were victorious this year.
The last 2 years, but who's counting?
Right.
Always helps. So take us behind the curtain of the kind of selection committee. You know, we're on a lot of message boards, and, you know, we talk to coaches, a lot of coaches that may be on the bubble, maybe not on the bubble, depending on who you ask. How much do you take into when you're evaluating? What's the process versus like a full season resume versus, hey, we want to put the hottest teams in the tournament right now, you know?
Yeah, you know, it really is a full season. You know, we try to take November win as at the same as a March win, right? You know, and I think one of the things that is a challenge is the recency bias, because, you know, we're doing our work right when conference tournaments are happening. And so you're seeing things in real time that you're trying to put into context of a 31, 32, 33 game season, that you don't want to just impulsively say, oh my gosh, that's great, put them in the tournament. And so, but it really is full body of work that's really important. And we really are trying to find the best teams, the 37 best at-large teams. And then obviously you got 31 AQs, and that's how we do it. And so, you know, and we're looking for the best teams. we're trying to take the full body of work and look at that all throughout the season. And for the most part, we do that. But we are human, we're watching games in real time, and obviously
not according on social media, Keith. You're heartless. I told Tom never stop in Terre Haute in the next couple of years.
Or at least if he does do it in disguise. We got to do it in disguise, huh?
Yeah.
Well, it's tough. It's tough because there's so many deserving teams. And right. It's kind of like when they expanded, the field of 12 or whatever, the college football playoff. People are now talking about the 13th and 14th team that didn't get in. I mean,
yeah, exactly.
Even if you do it, that's why I'm telling you, Keith, 356 teams.
Everybody's happy. Everybody's happy.
Yeah, everybody's happy. So Sam, I got a couple questions for you, Keith, from one of our friends, the JBR Bracketology. How much of a factor does the new WOB, wins against bubble, metric play in selection and seeding? Okay, that's the first part of the question. And will the committee place any greater weight, even a small greater weight, on the WAB over the other two resume metrics in KPI and SOR?
Yeah, so usually that really is kind of an individual question, right? The committee certainly does not put any more weight on one resume metric over the other. They're all three of them are on our team sheet. They're kind of right there in order. And we get to see them right next to the predictive metrics that we use as well. But I think what happens is for each committee member, they have what they value, and some of that is weighted kind of in different directions. And so I think that's where it really comes is kind of what are you looking for? What are you thinking about in terms of first, do you weight the resume metrics a little more than you do the predictives? And if so, how does that even work? And how do you put quad one wins? And then how do you put style of play in there and what you've seen kind of as teams play? And so I really do think it's a mix. I think everyone does it a little differently. And I think that's why I think at the end of the day, we end up with kind of the best product, because I'm going back to our previous kind of point is I will tell you for all your listeners, this is probably one of the best professional kind of things I've ever been associated with. Mm-hmm. But at the same time, it's also one of the most unsatisfying. Like I've never walked out of the selection room when we finished and felt good per se. I felt like we did the best work. I like the bracket that we have, but you always know that you're leaving out some teams that are really good, that deserve some consideration, that would be the 69th team or the 70th team. And I think that's hard because we've all been there. I was there at Vanderbilt when we had a watch party and didn't make it in the NCAA. And I mean, it's like soul crushing. And so we all recognize that. We all understand it. And it's a very, very taxing process in that regard. And certainly we just understand, the pain of schools that don't get in and how that works.
Yeah, at least it's the 69th team, not like the 33rd team like they had back in the day. 32 teams would make it. Now, there's obviously less Division I teams back then. But, yeah, I mean, it's hard. It's really hard. Better you than me, Keith. Yeah, better you than me. Sam, you got anything more for Keith?
Yeah, I mean, as you kind of move from vice chair to chair, I mean, is there anything that you're looking forward to? Any adjustments that, as you kind of evolve the committee in the next year that we should be looking out for?
I don't think so. I mean, obviously we've got to corral this, expansion question. So, we've got to figure out what we're going to do there. But
356.
The good thing is, this process lives on the shoulders and the good work of a lot of people, right? And it's been refined over the years, and it really is a very, very good process. And so, I'm just going to try not to mess it up. I mean, Bubba's done a great job of leading us. His legacy will be kind of secure in terms of his good leadership. And how can I just make sure I don't mess it up? And just keep between us, I've got to do better than the Carolina guy, right? So
there you go. I love it. There's a little competition there. Well, yeah, I mean, after talking to you, Keith, as well as, your colleague, Tom, I would love to see like a documentary one day of just going behind the curtain and just how much great work you guys do and how balanced it is. And,
dude, why are you selling ideas out here that
I
not
don't
entertain
care
us?
if it's ESPN 30 for 30 or whoever, but I mean, I
maybe
think
like a Hard Knocks.
yeah, exactly.
Like Hard Knocks.
Yeah, like
Yeah.
what you guys go through during the season. Because I mean, you guys are talking throughout the season, and then it comes down to those 4 or 5 days leading up to Selection Sunday, and yeah, it's pretty intense work. And yeah, I would love to get behind the curtain there with a little film crew one day. So
Yeah.
LT, you want to finish us off here?
Yeah, you know what? I can just sneak through the ventilation system. So when you're doing this that thing, if you hear some knocking, it's Big Daddy over here. But
Yeah.
Keith, you really appreciate it, man. You guys are doing great work. I know you guys are going to put together a great tournament. We're going to be a part of it, obviously, in a couple different sites and different forms and stuff like that. Hopefully, we'll see you out at the Final Four. But Keith, really, I appreciate it. Check out the Sun Belt Conference. It's going to be a really, it's a really great conference. Really good teams, really good coaches too, and players. So, and you're doing a great job, not just in basketball, but many other sports. We'd love to have you back, next season and talk a little bit more in depth about Sun Belt. So, Keith, thanks a lot. The one great thing about college basketball, it's not just about the players and the coaches. College basketball really encompasses so many different things. And Sam and I have talked about it, whether it's the cheerleaders, whether it's the band, whether it's the, professors, the fans. I mean, you go into it. Another great thing that I truly love is not only the sports information directors who we deal with on a regular basis, is the managers.
Yes.
The managers that I've learned about when I was playing some sports at University of Illinois Chicago, aka the U in Chicago. I'm the only person that calls that. Is I was buddies with some of the managers, except for one who kind of, dare I say, cock blocked me. He was a women's basketball manager. We won't go there. Andy Montgomery didn't wear pants ever. He always wore shorts. But anyway, let's just get to what I need to get to.
Let's get to it.
We got one of the hottest dudes in college basketball right now. We got Amir Khan from McNeese, the Cowboys, the Go Pokes. You're on College Basketball Weekly, man. What's going on?
Hey, how y'all doing, man? Thank y'all for having me.
That's
Tell us.
I don't think he goes by the name Amir anymore. I think he just walks around campus and people call him Aura, right?
Yeah. You know what's funny? I actually had someone text me about another interview, and they said you prefer to go by Amir or Aura. So I don't know if people think that's my name now, but but I thought that was funny.
That's a pretty smooth name, though. I mean, out of all kind of the nicknames, I love it, man. And I saw McNeese; they updated the website with that on there. You're in your second season as the manager for the Cowboys. Senior from Lake Charles. Mm-hmm. Seems like you've kind of been putting some swagger in with this team for 2 seasons, but you just went viral. The past couple weeks, getting a lot of national attention. What's that been like the past couple weeks, managing all that?
Yeah, it's definitely been a lot because I'm not usually used to this much attention, and I've never been big on social media. So when you go on social media and just you see yourself, constantly, I think it's definitely, it's been really cool and it's been really fun, but it's been a lot trying to manage that in school, and still working with the team, because we're still focused on, winning this conference tournament.
Yeah. Is Coach Wade or Coach Hamilton been a little bit nicer to you now that you're big time?
No, they've been the exact same. They've always been really nice to me, they haven't changed anything up, and, I wouldn't want any other way.
Yeah. Yeah.
So he says he's not big on social media. I went to your Instagram and I was like, okay, you didn't post anything for like 6 years. The last thing you posted before all this happened was a pretty sweet pic, though. I'm not going to lie.
Ooh.
That was from 2018. And I mean, that had Aura written all over it. And then this goes viral with you in the tunnels, the locker, like all that stuff. And it's like, it seems like you've always kind of had that, kind of mentality, just that smoothness and stuff like that. So, the thing that everybody saw is, you rapping In and Out by Lufo. Shout out to Chicago hip hop. Who picks these songs? Like, is that you? Is that the team? How does that kind of go down?
Yeah, so usually it's DJ who's on aux,
Mhm.
and they usually like come to an agreement a little before about which song they want to play, and he plays the song. But I had no clue they'd be playing that song. It's one of my favorite songs. So when I was holding the speaker, getting ready for the walkout, and when I heard that song play, I was like, oh, hey, look, I really like this song. It's one of my favorite songs, and so I just kind of started rapping it, man.
I love it. I love it.
We saw it firsthand last year at the first and second rounds with the big ghetto blaster, and then at the final four. I mean, it was really was really cool. And just then there's UConn that does none of that stuff, or Creighton for that matter. But I remember like North Carolina State, Alabama, I believe, did it too. A couple other teams and what have you. When you look at what's going on now, take us through an average day of a manager on a Division I college basketball team.
Okay, so the average day is we come in around like 8 a.m. and the players want to get individual shooting workouts. So we rebound for them around, for 2 to 3 hours, and then we get a little bit of a break, to go get lunch, do schoolwork, and then we come back to set up for practice at around 12:30. Make sure everything's set up, rebound a little more for the players, and then we help operate practice after that. We whether it's wiping up wet spots, helping operate the drills, doing clock that's usually what I do. And that's where I put up a lot of my Wilt Chamberlain numbers. So and then afterwards we rebound a little more and we do laundry and then we go home.
So where's class in all this?
Class, it's so usually
I know it's overrated. Say it, Amir. It's overrated.
Yeah, exactly. And I think, I've definitely been missing a little more class than I usually do. So my professors aren't happy about that right now. But yeah, when it's usually during the shooting workouts, early in the morning. I don't have any afternoon classes, so it's usually around then, and I don't miss a few of those. But I scheduled around practice time just to make sure I don't miss, any of the practices.
Yeah.
Are you a big basketball fan? I think so, right? I mean,
Huge.
Yeah. So who did you grow up watching? Like which teams?
Okay, so NBA, it's the Lakers.
Okay.
I've always been a big Lakers fan, and I still am a big Lakers fan.
Uh-huh.
So for college basketball, actually, it's weird. My dad he has no ties to Chicago, but he's a DePaul fan. So I grew up watching LSU basketball, so that's kind of how I'm here. I was an LSU basketball fan and a big Coach Wade guy, obviously. So, yeah, LSU and DePaul are the two teams that I root for. But whenever I'm not rooting for McNeese.
Geez, Sam, did you know that?
I didn't. I knew the LSU thing because I read something about Amir, being a Coach Wade fan, or at least he followed his career at LSU. And so, but when it comes to DePaul, I don't know if you know this, Amir, but Luke and I are both DePaul grads, part of the athletic program there. So,
I didn't know that. No,
yeah, I got the old school DePaul swag if your dad needs anything.
Okay.
So.
I appreciate that. I'll ask about that.
Absolutely.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
That's crazy. So what did you know about Coach Wade? I mean, how did that? Obviously, if you grew up an LSU fan, I mean, LSU when he was in that tenure, obviously didn't end well, but was really, I mean, they were a fun team to watch, and his background is second to none. I mean, Virginia, VCU, and many other places. What did you kind of know about him?
So, yeah, I know that he brought an energy to the LSU basketball program that I've never seen or felt before. He, besides the first year, he consistently took the team to the NCAA tournament. He won an SEC regular season title. And as an LSU fan, I never thought that, we would be at that level, in basketball. Always been a big football school. So just seeing him, on the side, he's so energetic, and his passion for basketball is unmatched, I feel like. So I definitely, when I heard that he was coming down here, I was like, it was a no-brainer to come down and work for him.
Yeah. Nice. Do you have aspirations to kind of move into coaching eventually? There's a lot of, we're seeing a lot of student managers.
Or a rap career.
Definitely thought about that.
Do both,
Exactly.
But we see a lot of coaches who started off as student managers. Is that in your path?
Yes, I would definitely say it's one of the paths that I'm considering. The next step I want to be is a GA. I think I want to get my master's, and I actually want to see if I get my master's in journalism because I also wanted to be a sports journalist before I've been a manager. But coaching is definitely one of the things that I'm looking towards, and I'm definitely considering.
Yeah, yeah. Well, we better be careful, Sam.
I know.
Did you know that Bruce Pearl was the mascot at Boston College?
I had no idea about that.
There you go.
That is an interesting fact, and
Yeah.
I just learned that though.
Yeah, dreams can come true.
Yeah.
No, for sure. Well, it is funny because it's like you see student managers. I mean, they're the ones who are just sponges out there. I mean, they hear and being around somebody like Will Wade as well as the other like coaches that Coach Wade's brought on that team. I mean,
Don't forget Vern. Don't forget Vern.
I mean, they're all just top tier over there. So I mean, being around those guys and hearing what they're telling players and being around the players as well. I think that's where when you're a hoop head. Like, I mean, you don't take that for granted at all. Just being around that kind of knowledge. That's incredible.
Definitely. And that's like one of the things I enjoy, because I'm learning from, a great staff of coaches and the players too. That's definitely one of my favorite things working here, just learning everything they know about basketball and, continuing to do that.
Yeah. Last question I want to ask is, how exciting is McNeese basketball? I mean, we see the highlights. I mean, last year, we've had, a couple coaches on. We had one of their Shadia Wells last year on, who was just a flat out ball player. Like, how exciting is it to be part of McNeese right now?
Yeah. So, McNeese is the hometown school for me, and I've never been able to see it be, a winning basketball program, or at least consistently. And the fact that not only are we seeing it now, I'm a part of it. It means the world to me. And yeah, I think people see like a few highlights. Definitely probably see some shoemake dunks, but this team has legit talent that could play at higher levels. And I think Coach Wade and his staff have done a really good job, obviously, of bringing like top tier guys here. And I think we've shown in some of the bigger games versus some of the Alabama, Mississippi State that we can compete with the top teams, and that we're an exciting team to watch. Yeah. So yeah, it's just it's been amazing.
Yeah.
Love it.
We appreciate it, Amir. Check out Amir Khan, aka what's his nickname?
Aura.
Prince Aura.
Prince Aura. I love it.
Tell your professors, they give you a hard time. You're not speaking to Amir anymore. You're speaking to Aura.
I love it, man.
Just a verb. So thanks, Amir. We really appreciate it, man.
1, 2, 3, come on!
All right, Sammy, that was awesome. Another great episode, and we'll just make it short and sweet. It's going to be NCAA tournament time. Don't forget, we're going to have two college full court press, college basketball coach shows this week. John Gross from Akron, the Zips. He's coming back on for, I believe, the second time. And then Lenny Akufu's coming back on the second time. Lipscomb, the Bisons. They're going dancing, baby. They're going dancing. So
happy for Coach Lenny, man. He's a legend in the game and represents, what coaching's all about. Learned a lot about him in our preview show that we had with him earlier this year. And it's going to be a great episode. So, but yeah, 1 week is March Madness, NCAA tournament, first four in Dayton, 1 week away.
I can't wait. So don't forget to subscribe, rate, review. Follow us on the Full Court Network. We want to be your home for college basketball. We're going to have some great content. We're going to do some fun stuff from the Mountain West Conference. We might do a live show on Saturday. Maybe do like a little college game day from the Mountain West Conference tournament. And then Sunday night, check out 8:30 at night Eastern time. Set your clock, set your timers. It's going to be lit. It's going to be live. It's going to be like a preview show you've never heard or watched. So we will see it. Thanks for listening. Thanks for watching the College Basketball Weekly, brought to you and powered by the Full Court Network.